Hey guys, Angus from Spotted Hog Airsoft here today with another Airsoft video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at this gun right here in my hands. This is the Echo 1 SOG, or Special Operations Group -68. Basically, it's a stubby M16 VN AEG. Now this is a pretty cool and unique airsoft gun. If you're interested in picking it up, there'll be a link down below in the description to echo1shop.com, where you can buy it for about $200. Now with that being said, guys, I'm pretty excited to review a unique gun like this. Let's hop straight into this video. Alright, now hopping right into the review, let's start off by talking a little bit about that unique look that I stressed so much in the intro there. Obviously, this is kind of meant to look like an M16 VN, but shortened and rather stubby. This is going to be one of those guns, in my opinion, that either love or hate. Some people might say that's the ugliest thing in the world. Me personally, I'm a lover of unique guns, and I really do like the cool look of it, as well as the nice compactness. Now, one thing I also do like about this gun is a rather solid external construction that it has. Now, the majority of the AEG is constructed out of a pretty durable plastic component, probably some kind of ABS. I'm not necessarily sure it's polymer, but then again, I'm not a plastic expert. There are a few metal pieces on here, though, that would come with the AEG stock. You've got, obviously, your magazine, as well as your outer barrel, your front triangle sight, all your different extremities, such as your charging handle, your fire selector switch, your trigger, and obviously all the screws and sling mounts on the gun as well. One thing here is not stock with the external construction of this gun. You will originally get a plastic orange flash hider. I simply have gone ahead and opted to install the sold separately black metal flash hider that you can purchase for this AEG as well. Keep in mind that will not come with the gun. The rest of the furniture of the AEG, including its handguard up front, the whole upper and lower receiver, as well as the stock and pistol grip, those are all constructed of that solid plastic component. They feel solid and durable, but obviously they're not the same strength as, say, if you had a metal body on this AEG. They do reduce the weight to only about 5 pounds, though. Another nice touch externally would be some painted on Echo 1 markings located on the left side of the gun's lower receiver. It's not like they're engraved, they're just painted, so they're not necessarily going to be there forever, but hey, they certainly do look nice right now. As far as internals go, obviously you get a metal version 2 gearbox as typical of an M16 style gun, long tight motor, and obviously a shorter inner barrel, seeing as how the gun has kind of been shortened and is much more compact. Echo 1 internals tend to actually be pretty nice. They're generally lubed very well, not necessarily greasy, and they tend to get the job done. Pretty much room for upgrades too if you really wanted to. Overall, the externals are solid and the internals great for what you pay for out of the box. Alright, now chugging right along and getting into some important key features of the SOG-68 here. In my opinion, on an AEG, nothing's more important than battery space, because that's where you store what you need to power your gun. Now, you'd think on this AEG you'd make use of the full stock, but actually the battery is held inside of your VN style handguard, and actually accessing the compartment's pretty easy. Simply pull back on the delta ring and pop off a half of the handguard like so. Obviously now you will reveal your small type connector inside of the handguard. This gun will include an 8.4 volt nunchuck battery that you'll see tested out later in the video, and that fits in there rather snugly. Personally, I'd recommend a slender 7.4 volt LiPo to fit in there and even give you a little bit of room to spare. Overall battery compartment rather easy to access, pretty easy to change in the field as well, because all you have to do to reseal it is simply snap the handguard back into place by pulling backward on the delta ring and letting it lock. Easy to access compartment, in my opinion. Alright, the handguard is easy to access, but wouldn't the stock be easier? Why don't we use that? Well, that's actually because when you flip this switch over like so, the stock pops out and extends, which I think is really cool because I've never seen that kind of feature before. Sure, we have the push button stocks that extend, but one that just pops out kind of spring loaded, I think that's really cool. Obviously this adds a little bit of length to the gun, and personally for me as a guy with longer arms, that makes the gun a little bit more comfortable to shoot as opposed to having that set, really short, compact weapon. What's also nice about this stock is I believe it does actually have 3 positions. You've got the long one here, the short one where it's just up against the AEG, and if you get it just right, I think you can kind of lock it in between like so there. It's a little bit annoying because it's spring loaded, and it's actually a pretty darn strong spring. The most annoying thing is getting it all the way back to its shortest position. You actually do have to force it quite a bit. But hey, I'm not complaining. I do like this feature a lot, especially because it makes the gun a little bit more comfortable for me. I'm not set in stone with this rather compact AEG. I can add a little bit of length. And it's a neat, unique feature too. As far as the gun's fire selector switch goes, it's your basic M16 style selector, not ambidextrous, located only on the left side of the gun. You do have the standard 3 settings: safe, semi, and auto. Overall, the selector switch is pretty nice, crisp, easy to move, rather smooth, not getting stuck between settings. Nice basic selector. Now when it comes to the SOG-68's magazines, you do actually get two of them. Of course, I've only been running the short mag throughout the review this far. However, despite the differences in the mag, as you'll see just in a few minutes here, they do both eject the same way. Simply push in the release on the right side of the gun, and the magazine will drop out like so. Now your included magazines are both in that classic Vietnam mag style. However, keep in mind that this gun is fully compatible with your standard M4 magazines as well. It just won't keep with that cool look of the AEG. Both of them function the exact same way despite their different capacities. Obviously you have the short high cap mag holding about 190 rounds and the large one holding about 300 rounds. They do function the same way as any other high cap though. You'd simply load them to the trapdoor at the top, the BBs would feed from the top, and then obviously you'd wind them down at the bottom. These magazines do a pretty good job of keeping up with the gun's slower rate of fire, so there's really nothing to worry about as far as feeding issues are concerned. Just make sure the magazines are locked into the AEG. Now when it comes to putting the magazines back in, this is where things can get a little bit annoying. You really have to get it lined up in there perfectly, otherwise it'll just fall out. Make sure you hear that solid clack to let you know it's locked in. When it's in the magazine well, there really is no wobble whatsoever. Of course, make sure it's actually in that mag well. Now when it comes to the AEG's iron sights, they're pretty basic and similar to the ones you'd find in your standard M16 or M4. But we'll go ahead and zoom in and take a closer look at them. Now your rear sight is built into the weapon's carry handle and is this small little aperture right here. Now you do get two of these little sighting apertures and they are simple flip down. Right now you can see the pinhole one. If you were to flip that backwards, you would reveal your open hole aperture. These things are actually a little bit hard. You really have to force them downward in order to pop the other one into place, but I'm sure that'll break in over time. Obviously this rear sight is meant to line up with your front sight, which is just your basic triangle front sight with a small adjustable sight post in the middle. So overall, those iron sights are pretty accurate to the gun, and basically they're what you're stuck with because what's nice about this AEG is the Echo 1 did keep with the traditional VN style where that rear carry handle or rear sight is not removable, therefore there's no rail underneath. The only way you could really add an optic to this gun would be if you bought the mount that attaches to the carry handle itself. So not much customization as far as optics goes, but hey, the iron sights are pretty accurate to the gun. Now the SOG-68's charging handle does have a function. When you pull it back, your dust cover will flip down like so, revealing your gun's hop-up unit. What's also nice about this is, as you can see, there's nothing to cover up it internally when you release the charging handle, so just the dust cover. A little bit of a con because you should keep that up in order to prevent dust from actually getting in there, but at least now you can work on your hop-up without having to hold the charging handle back. The hop-up itself is that rather small gear right there. It's located in there, so it's a little bit difficult to get when you're playing in winter games with larger gloves on, but otherwise it's a pretty effective little hop-up that's relatively easy to adjust. Just how effective is it? Well, let's go ahead and put that to the test in the performance test portion of our video. Not only are we going to be chronoing this gun, but we'll also take a few shots downrange at a target to see just how accurate it is and how effective that hop-up really is. So with that being said, what are we waiting for? Let's head on over there. Alright, so for the chrono portion of the video, I loaded up with 0.2 gram BBs as well as installed the included 8.4 volt 1100 milliamp battery. Now keep in mind we performed this chronograph at about 45 degree temperatures, so maybe that may have an effect on the results. As far as what we saw very consistent FPS at right around the 350 feet per second mark with 0.2s. Great for CQB in a compact little gun like this. When it came to rate of fire, things got a little bit disappointing with that included battery. We only saw about 550, 600 rounds per minute, which as you can see, transferred into about 9 rounds per second. So a little disappointing rate of fire. Maybe it had something to do with the cold. Alright, so for the accuracy test, I positioned myself about 120 feet downrange, took aim with 0.25 gram BBs and adjusted hop-up, and that same stock battery I was using for the chrono. As far as semi-automatic accuracy goes, we saw phenomenal accuracy. I believe I missed the target once, and the rest of them just came straight into contact with it. So overall, semi, not much to say, great accuracy. When it came to full auto, the accuracy was, alright. The BBs still kind of stayed down there. They kind of started to take that, what I call the cloud effect, where they don't necessarily stay in a straight line, they just kind of disperse and start to fly everywhere. Most of them still hitting the target, or at this point when the target fell off, just the chair. But the accuracy was a little bit better on semi in my opinion, probably due to just that slow rate of fire that I really can't get over on full auto. Alright accuracy though. Alright, so with those final shots being fired, we can go ahead and hop into the final conclusion of this review. One quick disclaimer, keep in mind I'm reviewing this gun as an airsofter, concerned with how it'll actually perform in the real field, not as a reviewer, concerned with how great it looks at a table. Now with that being said, my biggest con and issue with this gun is its rate of fire, and I think we can all agree with that. It's a little disappointing on that stock 8.4 volt battery that we're seeing 9 rounds per second, just under 600 rounds per minute. My number one recommendation, buy a new battery for this AEG when you purchase it. Typically those included batteries are just for test purposes, let you know it shoots, and that's exactly what we have here. So pick up another battery. That 8.4 volt one obviously is not very good at all. Otherwise though, the gun performs rather well. We saw a solid FPS. It would be great for CQB and a nice little compact gun like this. The accuracy was also pretty nice, and the hop-up was pretty darn effective in my opinion, helping those BBs reach a little bit farther out there. So perhaps this gun could hold its own in a woodland game as well. I really do love the unique look of this gun, as well as its awesome adjustable stock in the back there. I love that spring-loaded action. I think the magazines of this AEG really do give it a unique look as well. I especially like the big one in here. Kind of almost makes it look like an FAL in my opinion. Maybe I'm just the only crazy one like that. But otherwise, overall I really did enjoy the gun. The rate of fire kills it, but otherwise it's a beautiful AEG. I like the features. They're all solid. A little bit of issues with the mag sticking in if you don't get them just right, but otherwise this weapon would serve you well out in the airsoft field. Just pick up another battery. It really is a simple fix for this gun. So with that being said, guys, this has been Spotted Hog Airsoft's review of the Echo 1 SOG-68. It's a nice gun, just crippled by a slower rate of fire caused by a lower quality test stock battery. Pick up a new one, and I definitely think you'll have a nice AEG, because I'm hoping to run this out there personally myself. That being said, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe.